Station Lunar Snake Trophy Season number 6. We had Roar Gaming play yesterday and they looked honestly pretty nice in their coordination and just really played an overall well-built game around Kismet on that carry position. I really do think that Roar do have some kind of stride going on, right? It does seem like even with the roster switches they have, Lloyd's come into their lineup as well. Everything was working out really well. They were playing against Komodo. They weren't playing against some of the best teams in Lunar Snake Trophy, but Komodo did have some pretty nice performances themselves. Let's see what they'll be able to do against Carstensz, though, as Carstensz do come in with a lot of roster changes. They were previously, they had Krish as well as Essen. They had one player from India, one player from Pakistan, and now they have gone back to essentially, they have Saime and Tsukimoto, two players from Mongolia, and you have Hard L from Kazakhstan too. But I think the biggest thing is the fact that they do have Dreamocell playing on their lineup, right? And of course, Mamang Daya, he's been the most consistently present player for Carstensz. So he'll always be there on that mid lane position. He's also going to be the one drafting for Carstensz, apparently. Let's see what Carstensz will be able to do against Roar. This is, of course, the first match Carstensz have to play in Lunar Snake Trophy for this season. And Carstensz have always been a team that have been very impressive in the group stage of the tournament. Their playoff runs don't usually end up with them going super far, but maybe now with Dreamocell on their lineup, maybe with Saime on their lineup, things can, change. Roar Gaming, can they actually defeat Carstensz? That's what the question is. And they're actually going to pick up heroes with some significant amount of tempo. The Viper coming out as their very first pick. They do go for the Tiny and the Warlock. I'm assuming this is going to be yet another Tiny support, as they did run a Tiny support yesterday. I do believe Clove, or rather Double S, does like to play that Tiny on the 4 role. Meanwhile, Carstensz, they have that Largo. I'm not sure if this is going to be a core Largo because you already have the Underlord picked up. So the Largo position 3 is not available. But you can still play the Largo on that mid lane if that's what you're going to go for. You have the Hoodwink already, who is most likely going to be their 4 hero. And the Wind Ranger, which is most likely going to be their carry. Roar pick up the Storm Spirit, so they do reveal their mid lane. And Carstensz have yet to pick up their mid lane, if I'm reading their draft correctly. Roar Gaming also seems to think that this Largo is going to be a support and this Wind Ranger is going to be the carry. So then the big question is, what are Carstensz going to play on that mid lane, knowing that the Viper is not going to be there, right? You have the Storm, he's going to be on the mid lane, so you can pick up a Spirit hero for yourself. You'll be against a Storm Spirit. You won't have to contend with the Viper until later on. At the same time, this Underlord is most likely not going to have a good laning phase, because he's going to be against a Viper, and I don't think the Hoodwink can actually help the Underlord here. It's just an impossible lane to play against, and I would be very surprised if this Underlord can actually stick in the lane, as opposed to being forced out of the lane and having to jungle away.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Queen of Pain being banned out, and Carstensz ban out the Templar Assassin. So they don't actually expect Roar to play a carry Viper. They probably expect this Viper to be on the off lane. Against the Wind Ranger, I'm not too sure if the Viper will do well, because, poison attacks will not land as long as you have the Wind Run on. So Carstensz have a really good strategy against the Viper if he does show up to the offlane. And I think for Roar, they should reconsider this Viper offlane to a Viper carry, because they can essentially pick up an offlane hero right now. You can get an Initiator alongside your Storm Spirit and your Tiny. You can go for something like a Centaur, maybe even a Darkseer. And the Centaur is one of the better heroes against the Wind Ranger. Maybe even go for the Axe, because, you can negate that focus fire by using the Berserker's Call on the Wind Ranger. Just distract her, and You can use another Nether Toxin, you can use the Avalanche Toss, the Warlock's Chaotic Offering. I think the Axe is a very strong pick for Roar right now for the offlane if they do want to reconsider just playing with some mid-game tempo. They don't have to really ghost that super late because you have the Viper on your team and the Storm Spirit. You do have some decent late game potential with the Storm. But the Viper, the fact that you do have a Viper gives you a very strong mid-game presence. Hmm.
Dire team pick.
Roar Gaming pick up the Slark, so they're going to be going for that Viper offlane. And with the Slark, this is not too bad of a pick. This is still a hero that does do well against the Underlord, although the Hoodwink is a hero that is good against the Slark. Uh,
10
you
seconds
can
remaining.
use the Dark Pack as you see the Bushwhack coming in or the Acorn Shot, so you do have that. It's not great, but not entirely too bad either. And I mean, you do have the heals coming in from the Warlock for the Slark, even though he doesn't have his innate the heal any longer, at least until he's level 6. He will still play against a melee hero as Carstensz pick up that Earth Spirit on that mid lane. Not exactly the spirit I would consider S tier, but you do have some nice buffs on the Earth Spirit, so he is going to be doing well against Butterfly there. He at the very least he isn't going to get dominated in the laning phase. Carstensz, Mamang Daya on the Wind Ranger. And taking a look at the overall draft here for both of these sides, I don't exactly expect either one to have a significant advantage. I would give the slight edge to Roar here, simply because their draft comes in with a lot more tempo. The Slark, if he has a good game, Kismet is going to be out of control because there's really no hero on Carstensz that can actually stop that Slark. Two melee heroes, or rather the three with the Largo too, means, and the fact that the matter is that Pounce will disable Mamang Daya's role away. So if the Slark gets to that Aghanim Scepter, that's going to be a very strong power spike against Carstensz, and then that Pounce coupled up with another Toxin, it's a bit rough if you get caught on Carstenz's side. Now, if Carstensz were to initiate, perhaps they'll have a good enough shot, but they don't have the lockdown available for the Storm. I think Saime will have to go for additional lockdown because the Bushwhack it's not easy to set up. The Wind Ranger Shackle Shot, even that can be disabled. The only disable you have that is a guaranteed one is that Pit, because apart from that, all of the other disables you have are essentially projectile disables, which the Storm can zap away from. So at the end of the day, it depends on whether or not Roar are going to be quick on their fingers to essentially dodge those spells, because if they can, then the team fights, they're going to be a lot easier for them to take. There we go. Game number 1 will be on our screens.
Prepare for
Clove
battle.
unfortunately has disconnected, but should be reconnecting soon. In the meantime, I've added the logos up on your screen, so you should be able to see the fact that Roar, they're playing on the Radiant side, Carstensz are on the Dire, and it's still not going to be an easy feat surviving as the Underlord against the Slark. The Salty Shiv is a really good ability now, and I think the Salty Shiv will enable the Slark to perhaps dominate the Underlord. It's going to be up to the Hoodwink to push back at the Slark, but even then, I'm not sure if the Hoodwink can actually get the job done. You have the Warlock's heal, the Fatal Bonds. It does seem like the offlane, even without the Viper present there, isn't exactly a field day for the Underlord. So we'll just have to see what Kismet is able to do. We'll, there is a way I can see the Underlord working out, is if you keep your distance, use the Soul Ring, you know, just spam out your Firestorm and farm that way. Because the Slark does not have that innate heal, that Barracuda kicking in, he's going to be reliant on Lloyd with the Warlock giving him those heals. This is one of the first few times I've seen Roar not actually go for that Shadow Fiend pick.
30 seconds to battle.
There might be a clash coming out, but for now, Carstensz, or rather Roar, will just disengage.
The battle
They have planted down a very deep Observer Ward from the side of Carstensz. Not really too sure what this Observer Ward is designed to do. Normally you can place this Observer Ward if you expect the mid lane, if you expect to dominate that mid lane, and you expect the mid laner to fall back to their jungle, so then your support has clear vision of where they need to go to just to retract that position or deter them from farming in that spot. But right now, as it stands, I'm not sure the mid lane will be an easy contest, because at the end of the day, it is a skill-based matchup. Both sides playing that spirit, one side playing that melee spirit, but of course Mamang Daya does have a lot of HP on that earth spirit. It's a scenario where I think Mamang Daya should be fine in, and I don't think that he can push back a butterfly effect to the point where butterfly effect has to abandon his lane. I just don't see that happening for the Storm. I think this is pretty much going to be an even lane outside of perhaps a gank happening or someone outplaying the other by a wild margin. We just have to see, because as far as the priorities go, I think it should just be getting as many lost hits as possible, grabbing the power runes, going for some rotations. I think both spirits essentially play around those aspects of the laning phase.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Top side, Viper as well as a tiny lane isn't exactly too good for the Wind Ranger here. I think Dreamocell is going to have a bit of a rough time, even though he does have the Wind Run, right? So essentially the Wind Ranger is one of the few heroes that can stack up against the Viper, but can he farm up in a comparative way to Kismet on the Slark? That's the comparison that's always going to be there, right? That's how much farm does a carry have opposed to the other carry. And in that regard, I do think that Kismet will have more CS. You can already see this happening because the Slark has about 8 as opposed to the Wind Ranger, who's struggling at about 4. Even though you do have that Largo, so you do have that Dispel coming in, but you can dispel away the poison stacks, that's for sure. You can't dispel away the Nether Strike, I believe. So that is still going to be affecting you despite the catchy lick coming in. But the catchy lick also gives you some heal, so Wind Run plus the catchy lick with the heal, that should be plenty of heal, I think, coming about for your Wind Ranger. Oh, nice Shackle coming out. Frogstorm comes out as well as the catchy leg. Clove will take a significant amount of damage. Nether Toxin comes out from Double S, so they can't pursue the case there. But at the end of the day, you do find a way to push back. And Dreamocell, I mean, he has about 10 lost hits, so, or rather 12 lost hits, so he is stacking up comparative to the Slark, who does not possess a lane momentum in their favor. They are pushing out the lane quite a bit. In fact, Kismet's actually getting pushed back by Saimei. Turns out the Acorn Shot, the Tsukimoto, is doing a great job at actually keeping the Slark at bay. And now with the Shrine, or rather the Lotus Orb, spawning up, Kismet will be able to secure that one at the very least. It will go the way of Roar towards that top side as Dreamocell's Courier does go down. Clove was able to find that one. Hmm. 22 CS for the Storm Spirit. As Mamang Daya, he's only sitting at about 13 CS, so he is struggling against the Storm. He's actually getting dominated quite a bit here. 10 CS of a difference on that mid lane is 2.5 creep waves. It's around 300 to 400 gold. That is not something to scoff at. I think Butterfly Effect, I think Roar will be very happy about this kind of an advantage that they have been building up. And now that 4-minute water rune does come to spawn. Mamang Daya, he saw the Tiny coming in. He will actually just smash Butterfly Effect away, as he will go for the roll. Tsukimoto took the water rune on the other side, so Mamang Daya will not have access to that replenishment and will be very low on his mana. Can only use about one spell, which he's already done so. So now he's at the mercy of the Storm. He will just have to play it safe. He won't be able to secure any lost hits here, and maybe he can get the banner creep. The cliff comes out though. It will prevent Mamang Daya from being able to secure the CS. Underneath his tower, it is very difficult, as Butterfly Effect outplaying the Earth Spirit. Still about an 10 CS advantage for the Storm. No one really making a move, or rather an intentful move to get a kill here. First blood still has not been drawn. Both teams playing it very careful, knowing the fact that giving away an advantage to Roar is something they don't want to do. But for Roar, I think the fear is going to be slightly larger, right? Not wanting to give the first blood to these tempo-based heroes like the Slark or the Viper, because quite honestly, the game can snowball out of control, and it can happen from the early game, which is the troublesome factor. So you want to avoid the worst case scenario at all costs. Ooh, Wind Ranger finding yet another shackle shot. The Frog Storm comes out as well as the catchy leg. Double S in a bit of trouble, but it's actually Dreamo Cell in danger, as well as a Hard L. They don't actually have too much HP to play with, so every single time they do go for this aggressive play with their leg and with their Frog Stomp, it's the fact that they have to take in damage against the Viper. It's just not possible not to take any because of that corrosive skin coming in. That third passive, which not only keeps the Viper safe, but also deters the opponents. It's a first blood that will be drawn though. It won't be on any of the side lanes. It'll be towards that mid lane. Lloyd takes down Tsukimoto. And although that's not the biggest skill to be had because it is a support, I think Lloyd will be happy with the gold infusion that he will receive. He can pick up essentially the boots of speed if he wants to. Ideally, the kill should have gone to Butterfly Effect, who could have made some real use for it, or rather found some real use for it. But Butterfly Effect, I think we'll be fine with the fact that he has about 41 CS. 7-minute Shrine of Wisdom is going to spawn, but no one is really in position to go for some kind of a steal, so it will be an even Shrine of Wisdom exchange at the very least. When we take a look at the net worth, the Slark and the Storm are at the very top of the net worth chart. Kismet with a Lotus Orb, and he already has enough gold for the Blade of Alacrity. He has a lot of farm on the Slark, and this could be a problem later on, because I don't see a way that Roar have to disable this, that Carstensz have to disable this Slark. Honestly, I'm looking at a lot of these lanes, and it does seem like Carstensz are at the mercy of Roar Gaming in this laning phase. Although Kismet is going to struggle here, at least to land that CS. He actually might go down here. One more hit and he will fall. The Shadow Word kicks in, but is the heal going to be enough? He is trying to create a bit of a gap, but remember, he does not have his Shadow Dance, and neither does he have the Pounce. Tsukimoto will push back at the Slark, misses his bushwhack, and Kismet will stick around. Although the Storm, he is coming in, it does seem like a counterplay is underway. Mamang Daya has already gotten a kill on towards Clove. However, towards that bot lane, it is going to be a kill going the way to at least one core from Roar. It is going to be Butterfly Effect picking up the kill. So both mid laners actually finding kills across the map. That's definitely going to enable them. And Although it is in an advantageous position for Roar, considering the fact that they got a kill on the off lane. Mamangdaya got a kill on the support, which is good and all, but not as valuable as being able to shut down a core this early on. Viper. Focus fire comes out. Double S doesn't actually have too much room to maneuver, especially not when Mamangdaya making his entry. It is going to be a kill going the way of Dreamocell. Double S gets shut down, and Carstensz even out the score line. At least as far as the core kills go. Mamangdaya, this is the second or third, rather the third kill that he's been involved in. 100% kill participation if you think about it.
Is under attack.
Which obviously will not remain so as more kills happen across the map. Tsukimoto, is he dead? I think he is. Good kill coming out by Lloyd. Who already has hit his level 6, so he has that chaotic offering, and he can drop it down to be able to secure an early tier 1 tower for his team. It's not exactly going to be a super early tower because we're at that 10-minute mark, but right now it is Roar on a 2000 net worth advantage barely. You know, it is shuffling between 1 and 2, but with that chaotic offering, with the golem being able to take down a tower this early at this point of the game, they can essentially snowball this advantage right now. Clove, though, he is going to get caught out. Lloyd thinking about that chaotic offering, but will not drop it down quite just yet. It's going to be Butterfly Effect who will go in with the zap, able to take out Hard L, and now even Tsukimoto is in trouble. That is going to be a double kill for Butterfly Effect. All the meanwhile, Mamangdaya with that amplified damage rune trying to get the kill on Lloyd is not going to be possible. He will roll away, and in the end, it is going to be a 2-for-1. 2 supports for the 1, so very easy maths there. Butterfly Effect is going to be very happy with that. Kismet's farming away on that safe lane. Butterfly Effect is getting kills on that mid lane. Things could not be better for Roar. You do have Mamangdaya once again coming in through a teleport towards that mid lane, or rather towards that top side. It's going to be a roll towards that Warlock and towards Clove. Lloyd, though, he's holding on to his chaotic offering, and for some reason, Carstensz, they are second guessing this maneuver. It was still a good read because Kismet, he was arriving through the gate with a Diffusal Blade, so once the Stark made his entry, Carstensz would have lost the fight, but they had the element of surprise and really using the teleport from Mamangdaya to try and make that kind of a play. And it ends up with no kills, but it ends up with an advantage for Roar in the sense that the tower is going to fall. It might still be a trade, but the Radiant side does glyph out their structure, so Saime won't be able to apply much pressure on this bot lane tower, at least not to the point where Roar can't come to defend this after they're done with that top lane tower. As you can already see, Kismet making his way back into the lane, and with the Diffusal Blade, the Underlord can't stick around. Things have changed. Kismet is now in a position where he can go toe to toe with that Underlord, drain out his mana, has a Shadow Dance available for that survivability. As Butterfly Effect, he's actually going to be able to pick up the Haste Rune and dodge that Sharpshooter. Butterfly Effect essentially playing Neo at this point. Kismet is going to come in. He will be able to pick up the kill on Hard L as the Chaotic Offering on the other side completely deters Carstensz from this team fight. Saime as well as Mamangdaya just have to get back. They don't have the HP to stick around. It's going to be Tsukimoto who will also go down to Butterfly Effect as Roar, they're off to a blazing start. As soon as the laning phase ends, they grab themselves 2 kills. They will be able to pick up this tower as well because it is already very low on its HP and there's plenty of duration left on that Chaotic Offering. Roar, some pretty feisty performances coming out from their side. Kismet, he saw the Underlord. Can he get the Diffusal Blade off? He should be able to. There's the pounce as well as that Shadow Dance not really being used, but it feels like he will have to pop it. He does. Tsukimoto, though, he does have that Sharpshooter, and unfortunately, it was Butterfly Effect who absorbed it. So Kismet never got hit by that Sharpshooter and was able to make its recovery. Butterfly Effect certainly knowing where and when to zap.
A boon for buskers.
As that is the second time that Carstensz have lost their offlane.
Radiant are scanning.
or offlaner, and things are a bit tricky for them because it honestly does not feel like they have too many options. It feels like they have to play passive. And in a position where you have an Earth Spirit, you don't really want to play passive. You want to make moves around the map. Mamang Daya has that vessel, but no charges on it. So you need to get some kills to enable Mamang Daya as well.
Radiant are scanning.
Clove gets caught out. This could be a pretty good kill if they can find it. The significant question is if Mamang Daya is actually going to get jumped. And with that pounce on top of Mamang Daya, he has no way to roll away. It's a Viper Strike 2. Killing spree is going to vanish into thin air as Clove picks up the kill. Clove, who was the target for Carstensz to go in on. So as soon as Roar start to come in with teleports, and as soon as Carstensz see those teleports coming in, they just have to tuck tails and run. There's no other way they have to play around this. Another tier 1 tower, the lost tier 1 tower is going to fall for Carstensz. Roar Gaming have not lost a single tower on the map and are quite frankly in a very dominant position in this early game. They can go roam around anywhere. Butterfly effect doesn't have to fear any kind of lockdown coming in because there's no follow-up damage that can take out his life. Essentially, Carstensz are reliant on Dreamocell finding his, or rather, carving a recovery for his team. He does have that Maelstrom available, but is around 1300 net worth behind the Slark, or rather 1400. Slark going in for a Hand of Midas. Not too sure how I feel about the Hand of Midas pickup at this point of the game, 16 minutes in, but he is pretty much further ahead. Although the Hand of Midas does mean that the Wind Ranger and Slark are tied up in terms of power output, because the Hand of Midas is not really going to do much for the Slark as far as skirmishes go. It helps him farm, but outside of the attack speed isn't going to be a significant factor. So technically the Wind Ranger can fight against the Slark right now if Carstensz decide to go for it. Ooh, Tsukimoto did not get hit by the pounce. Kismet wants to play this careful, but Butterfly Effect, he comes in with a zap. Tsukimoto is in trouble. Butterfly Effect should be able to take him out, but does expend quite a lot of mana to get the job done. You do have the Underlord's Pit coming in, but towards the side, Clove comes in from the Tiny, trying to find that toss back, but couldn't find the position to be able to toss back the Earth Spirit. The gate not really being used, and Saime, he's going to wish that he had used the gate. Vortex is going to hold him in for enough time that Kismet can come in with a Diffusal Blade at the ready. The pit is not going to be available to hold back the Slark, as Kismet does have to readjust and get back. No Viper Strike actually coming out. Carstensz, they're going to come in for the counterplay. Mamang Daya is going to go in for the roll, and there is no Shadow Dance available. So a Shackle Shot comes in holding Double S back, but he has the Blade Mail. Dreamocell is still going to go in for the Focus Fire, should at least be able to take Double S down, but in the end, it's going to mean the end of the Wind Ranger's life. Kismet still holding his position. No Shadow Dance means that he does have to get back. Abandons Clove to his fate. He will go down. Butterfly Effect though, he has plenty of mana to play with, and he can essentially take Mamang Daya out, but Mamang Daya is proving to be a lot more tanky and does manage to find his roll away. In fact, he actually got the kill on Butterfly Effect. The Magnetides coming into play there. An unstoppable streak going the way of the Earth Spirit, as Kismet, he now does have his Shadow Dance available and should be able to take out Saime. Does use his Shadow Dance preemptively, but the kill is going to happen regardless, and now wants to try and take Tsukimoto out, and perhaps might be able to find that kill too. Clove was the one who picked up the kill, but I believe Kismet got the Essence Shift from that kill, so again, I do think that it's a bit of a back and forth fight, and the biggest problem for that fight is the fact that Carstensz lost their Wind Ranger early on, so Dreamocell never got much experience out of that. It's Mamang Daya who is the big winner out of that entire fight, as he ends up with 1200 more gold. Oh, Dreamocell is going to get cliffed by that toss. Focus Fire does come out, but the Shadow Dance is available. It's going to be a catchy leg that brings Dreamocell back from that high ground to the low ground, and he will be able to reposition. Fiend's Gate comes in. Saime shows up a 2. Holds Clove in, and that is pretty much an easy kill. Saime is actually going to get tossed up to the high ground towards Kisman. Not exactly too sure if you want to start tossing people into the Slark, but still a good kill to be found. And this time around, with the Wind Ranger fully involved in that fight, was able to pick up the most amount of gold. A fair bit of recovery from that lost team fight, where you do have that Hyperstone built up, so the Maelstrom isn't too far away for Dreamocell.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
The only thing I'm wondering is how they actually plan on taking the Slark down. I mean, they are going to attempt it. Mamang Daya does come in, but it's just super hard. And keep in mind, Kisman isn't even going for an Aghanim Scepter right now. I wonder what happens when he does eventually go for the Scepter. Once again, Kisman is going to break the smokes, but actually Mamang Daya will spot out a nice little Warlock in the wild, and Lloyd will go down. I don't think that anyone apart from the Slark can actually tank a gank like that. Wind Ranger able to pick up the shard. Surprising, the carry actually gets the Tormentor kill, or rather gets the shard from the Tormentor. But again, the Gale Force is a pretty good ability, especially if you get it this early on, right? There's not really too many force stops available, not too much utility that you have to be able to escape the force of that Gale Force.
Dire are scanning.
Saime does have that Pipe of Insight,
Dire's top
so
tower
can
is
absorb
under
quite a bit of magical damage, especially the burst damage coming in from Clove. The Avalanche Toss takes out a lot of your HP, around 1000 HP at this point, because you do have a level 11 Tiny. A lot of experience on him.
Radiant are scanning.
Starship with the amplified damage is actually going to come in for a play towards that bot lane, but isn't really needed there. Tsukimoto is just a support, and when he has a Slark on top of him, there's no way he survives. Kisman now does have a Shadow Blade, so I do expect the pace at which these ganks and pickoffs are happening to only increase. Kisman should be on the prowl, looking for kills all across the map wherever he can. The Viper, Double S, does have a Crimson Guard built up, so it's a scenario where the Viper is going to be almost impossible to take down. And this Crimson Guard is going to give the Viper and his entire team a lot of survivability, because already the physical damage from Carstensz is not that high. Apart from the Wind Ranger, I don't really see anyone coming in with that physical damage. The Underlord's physical damage does stack up in those team fights as the creeps and the heroes start to fall, but this is a pretty good Crimson Guard game. It's also a pretty good pipe game, so both teams do have those auras built up for those team fights. It's only a matter of outlasting the other opponents, or outlasting those auras at the end of the day, and I think that Roar are stronger in that aspect. Butterfly effect comes in with the zap, sees Dreamocell However, it's Mamangdaya and a Guild Force actually keeping Roar inside of the fight. Mamangdaya, though, he does get caught with the pounce and has no room to maneuver. Mamangdaya is in trouble and he will be able to roll away, though. Butterfly Effect, though, will find a zap on top of him. Clove has gone down, but a mid laner for a support is not worth it. They need to get more done in the team fight as the Chaotic Offering comes down. Double S holding that front line, able to push back at Carstensz, who are trying to make their retreat, but Saime will not be allowed it. Gale Force does come out, though it will give Saime a bit of a buffer as Kismet goes back in. The pit comes out from Saime, which is going to deter Roar from chasing inside of the tier 2 position. Butterfly Effect was looking for the zap, but decides against it considering his team can't follow him that far out. So at the end of the day, it is just going to be a 1-for-1. The overall damage output from the Slark not really being all that much and being something that Carstensz are able to play around for the moment. But the big problem is they lost their mid laner for essentially just a tiny, and that's never going to be a worth it exchange. Mamangdaya lost about 186 gold there, and the tiny lost. Sure, the tiny did also lose gold, but it's a support tiny. He already has a blink dagger. Quite honestly, even if he doesn't get any other item in the game anymore, it's still fine. All he really needs is that blink. Hardell does have that mechanism as well as that those arcane boots, so he'll have the Greaves up soon. Some decent bit of survivability, as well as the fact that you have the lick heal plus the mechanism heal. That is an overall 400 or so heal. Mechanism 250, and the lick actually does more, 130. So it's 380 heal coming out from the Largo, just shy of that 400 mark. The Silver Edge should help Kismet out quite a bit. There's no real use of the break mechanism. The Wind Ranger's Wind Run is not a passive ability. It is essentially an active one. And so the break will not affect him all that much. The Atrophy Aura can be broken, and so you can reduce the damage output that Saime has in those team fights. I suppose it is a valuable factor. But is it going to be a critical factor? Kismet trying to make some moves, but does know the fact that there is an observer ward there. He plants down a sentry, disables the observer, but Carstensz decide to go in and they'll burst him down. Perfect maneuver, beating him in with an observer ward, and they just threw everything they had at him. The magical damage coming in from Tsukimoto, despite of only having that level 1 sharpshooter, it's still about 600 damage, and when you have a level 2 sharpshooter up, that kill is only going to get easier. Carstensz break through the opening they received in that. They got a glimmer of it, but it turns out that's all they really needed, and now it's Lloyd the one in trouble. Their Slark is not alive, and they know it. For Roar, they are in trouble at the moment. I wonder if Carstensz will actually make this play. They're posturing around Roshan, thinking about it, but decided to not go for it. It would have been a very slow Roshan.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
As Butterfly Effect comes in with the Storm Spirit. Sanjin Kaya, Guardian Grief, actually goes for a long-range zap. Kismet is coming in, and with the avalanche coming in from Clove, the pounce is guaranteed. But Mamangdaya has that BKB and will be able to roll out. It is still a 9-second BKB forced out by Roar, so not too bad. But Mamangdaya stays alive, so both teams should be happy about that. And with this BKB, this is actually a really good pickup for Mamangdaya. I think Carstensz, with this, the fact that Mamangdaya won't die in those team fights, he can use the BKB, will not take any magical damage, and what little magical damage the BKB doesn't absorb is going to be absorbed by the pipe instead. So this is for the 8 seconds that Mamangdaya will have with that debuff immunity. I think that he will have enough time to take out at least the Warlock, maybe even the Tiny. Right now, it's Double S who will be taken out. He does have that blade mill, but cannot actually survive, not against Dreamocell with that BKB, as Kismet does show up to the fight. Chaotic Offering also comes down, as Dreamocell's trying to make his escape, and will be possible. The gate's there, and he's out, and it's actually Kismet the one in big trouble. He will go down. It's the Storm Spirit, it's Mamang Daya who's still going on strong, as Butterfly Effect, the Storm has to go through the gate and just abandon the team fight. For Roar, that should be a big wake-up call, as they're losing the grip they had on this game. They do find Dreamocell though. They will get essentially a freebie. Dreamocell really should not have stuck around in the team fight. He thinks there's an observer ward there. He's not wrong. There is one just right on the edge. But sticking around after you went through the gate, perhaps he should have gone back to farmer in safer spots, as that is really going to hurt them. Sure, the Star was not involved in that kill, but it's still only a 2-for-1 kill, right? It's Butterfly Effect getting a lot of experience. He's level 19 on the Storm, has enough gold for that BKB, and once you have that, you can't burst the Storm down. Now, they've done a great job at actually bursting Kismet, who's abandoned his play for the Aghanim Scepter and is now instead going to be going for that BKB. I do think that the Hand of Midas was a bit was a very... You lose so much tempo if you're ahead and you go for the Hand of Midas. That is the problem. And I think Kismet should have gone for a different item. Maybe gone for the Silver Edge earlier, or gone for the Aghanim Scepter, because he could really use the double pounce, especially against that Pit of Malice that comes out. The Underlord Spit just holds the Stark in. He doesn't have the pounce, he can't escape. So for the 3.6 seconds he's inside of the pit, assuming he doesn't have his dart pack, he's a sitting duck. Gunpowder Gauntlet available for the Slark, so some decent infusion into his damage. Saime's waiting for Kismet to show up on the other side, but Kismet won't. Tormentor will be up, and it will again go the way of Carstensz, who will receive it on hard L, so decent buff. Any single time you buff up your ally, you receive the buff as well. Butterfly Effect.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Arcane Rune is available, so they can go for the play. As Butterfly Effect, he has his own BKB, so these BKBs coming out from Roar is going to give them a lot of leeway. I think Kismet is going to farm up for his BKB, and then Roar will look for some fights, as they do take that tier 2 tower down towards that top lane, but it's a trade-off. Roshan will be the prize for Carstensz, and that's a fair enough exchange. Now for the 5 minutes Carstensz have, they can look for plays, look for team fights, maybe even push out some towers of their own, as the tier 1 still stands towards that top lane. Gate is going to be used. It's an attempt for Clove, although using all of this just to be able to take down that Tiny is not that worth it, as even as the gate was used, the Tiny does not actually fall. It's going to be both Kismet and Clove who will just make it on the other side of the portal. It does seem like a portal, right? But it says Twin Gate.
under attack.
Tier 1 tower should go down. I don't suppose that Roar will actually go for a fight against the Aegis, but as I say that, it does seem like they group up. It does seem like they're hankering for a fight right now. Butterfly effect has that Witchblade.
Under attack.
As he does go in with the zap, the Wind Ranger is going to be in big trouble, but does find that Wind Run. It's Clove who is going to get held inside of the pit as the Chaotic Offering does come down. Fight is divided across the pit, but Clove will eventually fall. Mamangdaya, his BKB is starting to wear off, but he's still going on strong with the roll up on top of that Viper. Double S is in trouble too. It's Roar Gaming who are unable to fight back. They'll be able to take out that Aegis, but Kismet has not found a real target. He's just roaming around over on that backline, unable to really find his pounce on anyone. He only got one hit off in the entire team fight, as that is simply unacceptable for the side of Roar. They need their Slark to land the hits, otherwise their allies, their teammates, they're sitting ducks. Only able to take out the Aegis, and that is certainly going to... I think Carstensz are going to be more than happy with that. They'll still be able to stack on this tier 2 tower, especially with the focus fire coming in. Sure, the glyph comes out, but I don't think that Roar are in a position to actually take a fight. It's going to be Kismet held in by the pit. Revealed. Mamandaya does come in. Kismet activates his BKB, goes to work, but actually ends up going down. Never wasn't even able to get his Shadow Dance off. That is going to be... it's rough for the Slark. He was off to a good start, but he just essentially got disabled. And the big question is, without any kind of physical damage coming in, right? Because Kismet is quite clearly not able to land the hits. Even in that last fight, he had that BKB, but he was just roaming around. It's these spits coming out from the Underlord, Saime, who he's just, honestly, had a phenomenal game. Through the use of just one spell, it's the pit. And now with the Aghanim Scepter up for Saime, he'll have 2 pits when he uses his ultimate. And that's not even the biggest thing. You take a look at Saime, and he's actually holding a full Scythe of Weiss that's going to be revealed on top of Clove, the Tiny, who will go down. It's going to be Dreamocell to pick up the kill there, and almost has that Aghanim Scepter. Once he gets to that Aghanim, suddenly Dreamocell is going to be a very difficult target to take down. The Storm Spirit can't do it, and unless you have the double pounces on him with his BKB on cooldown, there's no way you take the Wind Ranger down. He's just simply too far ahead. He is 6,000 net worth ahead of the Slark.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
It may just be a 5,000 net worth advantage or a 6,000 one, but make no mistake about it, it's the side of Carstensz who are a lot further ahead. In fact, I don't see a way in which they lose a team fight. As long as they group up together, as long as they play around the pit, it is impossible for the side of Carstensz to be able to take multiple heroes out. They can find 1 or 2 kills, but taking out everyone is very hard. The amount of damage coming in for this Underlord is, quite frankly, very high. Even without any kind of Atrophy Aura damage coming in, he still has about 182 base damage. Double S does have his nosedive. I suppose it's a decent enough ability. Trying to get to his Lotus Orb will be able to give the Lotus that Dispel to his Slark if he needs it. Or maybe even able to Dispel himself. Lloyd gets caught out. And at this point of the game, if this Warlock gets caught, he will go down. Focus Fire not really coming out from Dreamosol as they realize that there's no way that Roar will take a fight 4v5. It's going to be Dreamosol who will be able to acquire a tower. Nosedive comes in, but immediately a gate, or rather, a pit comes out. It's actually going to be Clove who'll try to toss in the Wind Ranger. Won't be possible. And these gates, or rather these pits, are a bit too much. Mamang Daya, he has the Shiva's Guard. Butterfly Effect held in, but Kismet comes in from the side. As Clove launches that Avalanche, and again, it's just spells being used to push back at Carstensz. Keep them away from Roar's high ground. But it's... I feel like these look like futile attempts. Because honestly, Kismet, his BKB is going to be forced out here. The question is, does he continue to take a fight? Mamang Daya does have his own BKB. Guild Force comes out. And with Kismet not having that Shadow Dance available or any BKB, he needs to be careful. He'll use that Depth Shroud as Butterfly Effect comes in with his own Aghanim Scepter. But it's double S held inside of the pit. And again, it's these pits that are proving so cumbersome for the side of Roar. They will have to readjust, but it's a Shackle Shot coming out by Dreamosol. They'll be able to pick apart that Tiny. Another pit comes in, holding double S in, and two heroes have already gone down. Carstensz are able to break through Roar Gaming, as that is the opening they were looking for to walk up to that high ground. And the big question is, how does Roar actually keep them back? In a 3v5 scenario, it's nearly impossible. Kismet is the whole hanging on towards that backline, but who can he really go in on? He may have that Shadow Dance, but without the BKB, he can't actually survive. He's in fact going to go for a split push, cut the wave, in attempts to keep Carstensz back. It will work, the backdoor protection will kick in, but at the end of the day, Carstensz, they've already been able to acquire the barracks. And they've been able to pick up the kill on Kismet anyway, so... This is, honestly, it's looking like it may just be over, because when I think about an extended team fight, there's a sweet spot for Carstensz that exists where they're stronger with that extended team fight. Now, if the team fight goes for 30-40 seconds, it becomes a really long fight and you have enough Essence Shift stacks built up, maybe Roar can actually come out ahead. But it looks super hard. Roshan is going to roar and should end up going down without much of a contest coming out from the other team. Carstensz able to pick up the Aegis once more, and with this Aegis they should be heading to that high ground. Kismet's BKB, it's been forced out. He's had to teleport back to his base. And Mamang Daya, he has gotten a very interesting pickup. He has that Aghanim Scepter, so he can, essentially save anyone on his team. He can essentially enchant anyone from the other side and send them packing inside of the 5 of his lineup. Inside of the Focus Fire, inside of the pit. As Clove launches the Largo inside too, Hard L will drop the gem. And in a 4v5 scenario, this could be a pretty good way to start a team fight, but instantly Largo buys back. and will be making his re-entry into the bot lane once again. With Carstensz, don't get much done. It's actually a very shaky roll in coming in from Mamang Daya. However, it's still going to be Carstensz who come out on top. Dreamocell simply coming in with too much damage. With the Daedalus on that Wind Ranger, the Star Spirit just simply melted, vanished into thin air. In the end, the storm never came after the calm. It was just calm all along for the side of Carstensz. The second lane of barracks being acquired here, as Double S is going to be enchanted and brought inside of the full force of Carstensz, who will be able to rip apart the Viper. GG will be called, as it did seem like Roar were on their lost legs. Carstensz will be able to acquire the first game victory over at Lunar Snake Trophy. It is their debut series, and it is a very convincing win, despite of the fact that it did seem like Roar Gaming had the better lineup. It as far as the draft is concerned, despite of the fact that it did seem like everything was going the way of Roar. They had that 4,000 or 5,000 net worth advantage. They had a Slark that was uncontested. But I do very much think that the Hand of Midas pickup on the Slark was not as effective. He slowed down his tempo too much. He couldn't go for kills. He couldn't go for the Aghanim Scepter that he so desperately needed against the pits that were coming out from the Underlord. A few itemization mistakes, slowing down their own tempo. I do feel like trouble caught up to Roar Gaming, but considering the fact that they were ahead, in the early to mid game, considering the fact that they had a very strong showing against Komodo, lost just yesterday, I wonder if Carstensz will be able to come up with a 2-0 win, because it seems really hard. Roar Gaming are probably going to come back stronger for the second game and are going to be looking for the comeback, perhaps to even take Carstensz to a game number 3. But whether or not that will happen is only something that time will tell. We will be back with Lunar Snake Trophy right after a short break to find out, so do stay tuned on in. versus Carstensz. Carstensz are one game up. Roar Gaming picked up the Viper, they picked up the Stark, they picked up the Storm Spirit, and even though all three of those heroes were doing really well in that early to mid game, they could not build up the tempo, or at least could not snowball their tempo. Carstensz came up with probably it looked a pretty easy comeback. At the same time, it was hard in the sense of making sure you stay alive, making sure you can hit your power spikes, making sure that you can hit your timings, and then making sure that you take really nice team fights, playing around the one hero you need to play around. That was Saime. You needed to play around the pit, and they did that so effectively. But what is going to be the strategy going into this second game? Carstensz do have that Beastmaster, the Weaver, and the Dazzle, so some very squishy heroes in the form of the Dazzle and the Weaver, something that Roar might be looking to exploit as they pick up the Razor for their own lineup, another Tiny pickup, and the Warlock. And I wonder if this time they're going to be playing with the Tiny on that mid lane, or if this is just another one of Clove's pickups. In the end, you have that Grave against that Avalanche toss, so you can stay alive. The interesting interaction between the Grave and the Razor versus the Razor is the fact that if you have the Grave on an ally that is going to die regardless, Razor will be stealing more damage if he has a static link. So in a scenario where someone is going to die, normally when you throw the Grave out, you may not want to do that because of the Razor static link. I think it's something that you may want to hold on to. Roar going to go for their fourth pick. As Carstensz do pick up that Slardar, this is a hero that
10 seconds remaining.
Saime could play, but at the same time, I'm wondering who the mid laner is going to be, because you do have a Beastmaster and a Slardar, so one of these two heroes is going to be on the mid lane. You have the Wonder Kid, Tai Lung, playing that mid lane Beastmaster over at Blast Slam that no one really has an answer to. Apart from just trying to ban it out. So I will expect a lot of teams to attempt to play that mid lane Beastmaster. I see it a lot in South America. I believe it over here as well. We did have one game at Lunar Snake Trophy in this season only. This is our third day, but I did see a mid lane Beast. Roar once again go for the Storm Spirit, so it won't be a Tiny mid, it will be a Storm and a Razor. Which I wonder if it's going to be an offlane Razor or a carry Razor, because it does seem like Roar are going for the kind of same lineup they had the last game. The only difference in this lineup is the fact that this Razor is here in place of the Viper. But that's just about it. And I think it's going to come down to the fact that if Carstensz want to run an offlane Slardar, then sending the Razor down towards that safe lane is going to be something that will benefit Roar. Maybe they can even outright win the lane. Right? That's what they should have done, in my opinion, in that first game with the Viper. Just sent him down towards that safe lane position against the Underlord, shut the Underlord down, and things may have been different, but they have yet another opportunity for it. Carstensz, though, think that this is going to be an offlane Razor as they ban up the Slark.
Dire team ban.
And I wonder who Carstensz will pick up, because Roar ban out the Ursa, a hero that historically and even theoretically does very poorly against the Razor. But the fact that Roar ban out the Razor makes me think that this may just be a carry Razor.
Remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team pick.
Carstensz ban out that Tidehunter.
Ten seconds remaining.
Roar Gaming.
5 seconds remaining.
Fifth pick for them.
Dire team pick.
Mars going to be picked up by Roar. And this is a pretty solid lineup. I mean, they're going to go back to the Razor carry, so they'll have the Razor versus the Slaughter. This is honestly, I think, something that Roar should have done from the get-go, but now that they have adjusted for it, I wonder how Carstensz are going to adapt. It is going to be a Kez coming out from Dreamocell. I do know that there's quite a few Indonesian players that know how to make the Kez work. Dreamocell is one of them, and I know that Jikroy is one of them too, even though Jikroy and Reconyx may not have qualified for the play-ins or the playoffs at Blast Slam. It's still, they had a pretty good run. I would say getting to this Blast Slam was a pretty good run for them. Hopefully they'll have more success. But Dreamocell is someone that has had a very fair, a bit of success himself. And now we'll get to see what his Kez is made of. These are three melee cores at the end of the day, though. Carstensz are playing against a Mars and a Tiny and a Razor. And Butterfly Effect went for the Aghanim Scepter on the Storm last game. So this is, honestly, Roar Gaming's lineup is built to play against melee cores. So Carstensz, they'll need to outplay their opponent significantly if they want to take a win. Because I think that the draft here favors Roar. Now that's something that I thought last game too, but Carstensz still came out with a win. So maybe Carstensz have a few tricks up their sleeve with this kind of a lineup on the mid lane Beastmaster, on the off lane Slaughter, on the safe lane Kez. But just taking a look at the laning phase, Slaughter loses to the Razor. There should not be any doubts about that. I think Dreamocell will do fine on the Kez against the Mars. On the mid lane, of course, Storm Spirit versus the Beastmaster could go either way. Storm Spirit, sure, he's a ranged hero, but the Beastmaster with the boars, with the Hawk, the Storm Spirit Butterfly Effect cannot play up close and personal. He can't allow the Beastmaster to close that gap, otherwise Butterfly Effect is going to be in big trouble. The game will start, and once again I will pop in the logos for all of you. Sometimes even I get confused on which team is which when there's no hero available on the map in the camera.
There's a bear shit in the woods. He would if he saw me coming. There's a bear shit in the woods. He would if he saw me coming.
That is a very interesting voice line.
"30 seconds to battle."
Apologies for the bit of packet loss there, but it seems to have settled down.
I owe you one. But let's not
A full 5-man smoke comes out from the side of Roar. Perhaps they're going to go for a wraparound, perhaps not.
The battle begins.
Two and two bounty runes each, so no side going to start off with an uneven advantage. Well, an advantage is always going to be uneven, but still. Let's see. Taking a look at the laning phase here. Now that I see which supports are going where, Dreamocell being supported by Hardell on the Dazzle, and I think that this is a pretty solid lane, right? The heals coming in, the poison touch from the Dazzle means that these two melee heroes are going to suffer. I don't think that there's a strong enough advantage for the Kez with the Dazzle that Dreamocell should be able to outright win his lane. I think it's going to be pretty much even. And we may even see some rotations coming in, but right now, Clove can't go for these sneaky little creep pulls. that he's attempting, because he's gonna get hit by the poison touch and it's just gonna get slowed down and brought down. I don't think he'll be able to make it, or rather drag the creep wave behind his tier 1 tower, which he ideally wants to. But even in this scenario, I think the Mars should do fine against the Kez. Although as the levels stack up, I think Dreamocell will be a lot stronger. Mid lane, once again, it is a skill-based matchup at the end of the day. But the skill is usually, it's going to be dependent on butterfly effect. Can't go too close to Mamang Daya because of these boars. You can't get slowed down. Especially as Mamang Daya, he is maxing out his boars from the very start. Disables the bottle sip too from Butterfly Effect. His Butterfly Effect does stack up a bit of damage, but can't go to these water runes. I think the fact that you don't have to rotate from your supports to secure the water runes is a big deal. As towards that top side, Double S slowed down with the poison touch. Will eat an Echo Slash, but it won't really matter. He is going to stay safe as another bit of lag comes in. Hardell though, he stays alive. Dazzle not really going down. No first blood being drawn quite just yet. Kismet and the Warlock. Again, this is probably the worst lane overall. Probably we'll see in the entire series, right? Saime on a Slardar versus Kismet on a Razor. This is an impossible lane to play if you're the Slardar. Any single time that you go close to the creep wave, there's a chance you're going to get hit by that plasma field. There's a chance you're going to get hit by that static link. And there's no real way to break that link. There's no stun available. So you're just going to be forced to run back, having most of your damage drained out by Kismet. Top lane, very aggressive maneuvers coming out by the side of Carstensz. Dreamocell will be tossed back to the Mars, but even then, Double S, he doesn't exactly want to play up close. Clove will eat that Echo Slash. Very low on his HP, but does have that boost of speed that Dreamocell does not possess, so can outrun Dreamocell, but still sticking around. Dreamocell will grapple on towards Clove and will be able to draw first blood. Tiny coming back into it certainly proved to be the wrong play there, as Tsukimoto does fall towards that bot lane, but Double S, even he is struggling. Down to about 20 HP, he will have to go back to the fountain, as Tsukimoto did go down. Saime is also going to get pushed back, has about 10 stick charges as well as a magic wand that can get built up, but he actually sells all of that and decides to, is he going to go back to the fountain? I think he wants the boost of speed. I think he wants to take down these creep waves, get the boost of speed up, as opposed to the salve, and should be able to find the gold for the pickup, as he does go for the boost of speed, and will actually bring in them in the courier, so he does need some regen. Maybe the tangos, or rather the one tango available on the Weaver is going to be pulled in, as Butterfly Effect not really getting pushed out of the lane, but just going back to the jungle to try and farm up. Grabs that bounty rune. Goes even further down, but will actually go for a wraparound back to the same jungle spot. You know, he saw Mamang Daya come into the jungle because it is daytime. Now it's nighttime, so it's harder to spot out Mamang Daya's movements, especially when he's not visible around the map. Hardell going to get tossed into the Mars. However, Dreamocell is there, will stack up a bit of damage on towards Clove, but it's a Hardell who will go down. Double S able to pick up the kill, and a great kill to be found. Double S will also take in a bit of damage, as well as the Echo Slash, but with Lloyd here, he does give the Shadow Ward heal. I think Double S will be fine. He has a salve as well as 7 wand charges, and Dreamocell was not able to stop that Lotus from going the way of to Lloyd. All the meanwhile, mid lane Roar has been activated by Mamang Daya on towards Clove, and Clove will go down to the poison touch coming in from Hard L as the Dazzle respawns and teleports towards the mid lane. So an even trade-off. This time around, tempo at least on two lanes, or rather on the mid lane, in favoring Carstensz, but on the other two lanes, it is slightly favoring Roar. Over on that bot lane, heavily favoring Roar because the Razor 44 lost hits for Kismet and only 22 for the Slardar. Saime has still done fairly reasonable. I think he's done a lot better than I was expecting, but that's partly due to the fact that Kismet has not maximized his static link. I think he should have, but he is, I think, approaching this from a perspective of farming capacity, and maximizing the plasma field does help this Razor to farm up faster. Simply because Razor has no other way to flash farm apart from this.
Tower is under attack.
Storm Spirit will go for the zap back. Double S has the arena, will actually activate it, capturing Dreamo Cell inside of it. Grave does come out, but with the static link from Kismet coming in, Dreamo Cell should be a goner. Kismet will be able to acquire that kill, and it's a great kill to be found. Taking out Carstenz's carry is certainly going to go a long way in evening out the series.
Radiant's bottom
Mamang Daya with 12 wand charges, 5 infused raindrop charges. Can essentially dodge 5 remnants. Clove trying to get as much experience as possible. As Mamang Daya, he's here with the Roar, and Saime does have that corrosive haze. They're looking for Kismet, so Kimoto will spot him out as Saime makes his entry. Kismet will use the static link, but all they really need is a stun, and then the Roar will follow. Kismet will go down. Saime will be able to pick up that kill. And Carstensz, as they lost their carry, they're able to dish out the same medicine to Roar. However, Roar do seem prepared. Stacking around their tier 1 tower, Mamang Daya will go down. So they do find essentially a 1-for-1. So not that bad for Roar, all things considered.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Butterfly Effect is not going for the Guardian Greaves either. Last game, we did see him go for the Greaves. This time around, he's prioritizing the Power Treads. And I think because of this, he will have that earlier utility-based item or DPS-based item. Either the Witchblade or the Orchid. He has queued up the Orchid. Oh, rather, sorry, the Witchblade. So he'll have that damage output earlier on. And against these heroes that don't have these Dispels coming in, I think it's going to be a pretty good Witchblade game. And probably Parasma later on. You do have some heals, so essentially one use of the Shadow Wave will be able to negate the damage that comes in from the Witchblade, which is one way to think about it. Hardel dishes at the Poison Touch, but got jumped by the Storm. And with Double S making his entry, it's going to be an easy rebuke to take out Hardel. The Dazzle has fallen. But still not too bad. I think these little pickoffs around the map are okay as long as you don't bleed too many kills. I mean, you can already see Dreamo Cell stacking up some pressure towards that tier 1 tower. He's brought it down nearly to about 40% of its HP. At the same time, with the catapult available for the Radiant side towards the mid lane, they should be able to stack up some pressure too. Especially since they have 3 heroes here.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
There's also 3 heroes brought in by the side of Carstensz. As Dreamo Cell, he's not really going for the Battle Fury. That's normally the pickup we see on the kills. He's gone for the Vladimirs and will have that additional lifesteal with the Raptor Dance. But the bigger item he's going for is that Desolator. So they're going for the single target all-out damage. I mean, you still do get the Desolator, but normally after the Battle Fury. Taking a look at the net worth, it is going to be Kismet at the very top of the net worth chart. Almost has that Maelstrom built up. While it's going to be Dreamocell on the second place position. The Storm is struggling, at least in terms of net worth, but not too far behind. All of these scores, they're either at 5,000 in the case of Kismet or Dreamocell, and 4,000 if you're any other core. Slardar, Saime, not too far away from his Blink Dagger. He didn't go for the Soul Ring, so can't spam his crushes to farm up. But with the amount of lost sites that he already does have, I think Saime is going to be able to find that Blink Dagger timing that he's looking for. Maybe a 13 to 14 minute Blink Dagger isn't going to be all that bad.
Is under attack. Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Hardell as well as Dreamocell making their way towards that bot lane, maybe with the Poison Touch, which is only level 1 at this point, but with the Corrosive Haze at the ready, perhaps they can take this Razor down. Kismet gets trumped, and with Tsukimoto here too, Kismet will go down, and so too will this Tier 1 Tauber. Carstensz coming out with, quite honestly, the perfect rotation. Shutting down this Razor is what you need to do. It's almost as important as shutting down the Storm, but taking the Storm down requires a lot of effort, and you may not be able to get it done without the Blink Dagger. That's still not yet up, but should be in about a minute from now. Well, at least will be in the hands of the Slardar in about a minute. Mamang Daya almost has that Aghanim Scepter. So once you get to these power spikes, this is going to be huge for the side of Carstensz. Meanwhile, for the side of Roar, Clove, he's only 700 gold away from his own Blink Dagger. Double S almost has his own Blink, and the Witchblade isn't too far. Well, the Witchblade is far off. It's around 1500 gold away. Hardell, it's actually Dreamocell that is the target. He is dusted. They do see him, but the Dazzle is very close by, and the rest of Carstensz, they are coming in too, especially with Saime, who doesn't have his Blink in his inventory because he did have to teleport towards this position. But now with the Blink Dagger on his side, I think they're going to go for a Smoke of Deceit. And for the side of Roar, they won't see this coming because they saw the Slardar teleport in without a Blink, but they'll see a Slardar pretty soon with a Blink. Waiting for Butterfly Effect as Mamang Daya, he has the Roar follow up for that Sidorine Crush. Butterfly Effect will go down. Clove throws out that Avalanche, has a toss as well to send the Slardar back, but in the end he will go down. Tsukimoto charges on forward with the Sakuchi. Probably can't take the Warlock out, but at the same time, it's two quick pickups as Carstensz will be able to take apart this Tier 1 Tower too.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Dreamocell spots out the fact that there are a lot of stacks built up in that triangle. Weaver Tsukimoto gets jumped. Arena Rebuke. Although I will add that using the Arena in that position for a Weaver suggests to me that Roar will play passive. Because otherwise you'd use the smoke, you'd go for a big arena, capture, try to get the Kez or the Beastmaster or maybe even the Slardar, any of the cores really. But the fact that they're using the arena on a support suggests to me that they would rather continue farming up rather than trying to force out a fight. Whether or not that is the correct decision is, well, I'll leave it up to them. Because the same can't be said for Carstensz. Carstensz quite clearly do want to take a fight. The Axes actually reveal the Mars, but the Roar was not there in time. Mamang Daya could not actually find or close the gap. It's towards that mid lane. A crush comes out by Saime. Clove, who tried to get the kill on the Dazzle, will not be successful. Butterfly Effect needs to go for a long range zap and will be able to find it. Mamang Daya able to pick up the kill on Clove. So an overall win for Carstensz, as Roshan is up, and with the Aghanim Scepter up for Mamang Daya, with the heals coming in from Hardel, as well as a swarm reducing Roshan's armor, there should be an easy pickup. And for the side of Roar, they don't have their arena for about 15 seconds. The only question is, will the arena be available by the time Roshan falls? The answer is no, because Roshan falls so quickly. It's going to be a stun. Kismet's revealed his position. Does find a nice plasma field, slowing everyone down, but it's going to be Dreamocell who wants to charge on in. With the Echo Slash, his Aegis is going to get whiffed though. The arena eventually comes out, but the Raptor Dance will lifesteal Dreamocell back up. Kismet goes down towards that backline. Double S will go down too, as a Warlock buybacks into the game, but realizes that he does not have a team to support any longer. 3 of their cores, out of the 3, 2 of them have already gone down. 1 of them has no more mana. It is truly a rough scenario for the side of Carstensz. Or rather for Roar, they
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
don't really seem to have too much going for them at this current point. 5,000 of a net worth advantage for the side of Carstensz, despite the kill feed not really being too staggering, is the way these kills have happened. As Double S, he's missed his spear and doesn't have an arena to play with. Double S will go down even though you don't have too much damage coming on towards him. It's actually Mamang Daya who's in trouble over on the side. He will have some heals coming in, but there's no way he survives here. He does have that second life though. Hard L, no grave available for him, as Mamang Daya respawns into it. Dreamocell comes back into the fight. Kismet, no HP available to survive. Butterfly Effect has no more mana, and Saimei has the crush available. Will miss it though. Butterfly Effect was able to find a last second zap, but in the end, it will still be a 4-for-1. It was 2 kills that they got, but the first kill they got was on that Aegis. Another 2,000 net worth swing in a stepladder net worth distribution for the Slardar. 4,000 experience. The Slardar got about 1,700 from that. As Saimei, he certainly found the openings for his team. Has not actually fallen a single time despite playing a frontliner. This is very impressive coming in from him. Double S? Surely he's not going to fall. Where is his team? His team will not be able to arrive. Dreamocell was able to take out the Storm Spirit all by himself and might be able to even take out Clove. He sends Dreamocell back with the toss, but in the end, it is going to be a double kill for Clove, or rather, double kill onto Clove by Dreamocell, and it's going to be a kill on the Mars too. For Roar, they are collapsing.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
I don't know about a bear, but if I were Roar, I would be slightly afraid of just the overall DPS that comes in, the disables that come in, and the fact that Roar, they don't, or rather are not willing to increase the tempo in the early game. I think that was a big factor going into the eventual comeback that Carstensz found in game number 1, and I think in this game, because Roar did not choose to try and make some risks, take some risks, try to go for some pickoffs, it's Carstensz who have a 10,000 net worth advantage by that 20-minute mark. 500 net worth advantage per minute overall in the game. They're going to go through the gate.
Fortified. Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower has fallen. Radiant are scanning.
The rest of Roar are farming up in the Radiant jungle, but Kismet, he will be revealed, roared up, and will potentially be brought down. It's the Storm Butterfly Effect who will come in with a zap, and a great arena coming in by Double S. They will actually be able to take out Mamang Daya. Dreamocell wasn't able to find much in the form of the Raptor Dance. No lifesteal coming out for him. He'll just try to use the Raven's Will, but will actually walk the other way. He'll walk closer to the side of Roar, and will actually be brought down. Double S coming in with a perfect arena. In fact, if he hadn't come in come in with the arena at that very time, at the right moment, this would have been another team wipe. I think for Carstensz, they should give them a bit of a pause. I know that they realize that they're probably ahead in this game, but without their BKBs, these arenas are going to be a problem, especially as far as counter initiations go. And perhaps for Roar, that is going to be a bit of going to provide them a bit of leeway now. Perhaps they can continue to farm on their Storm, perhaps continue to farm on that Razor. At the same time, as I say that, Kismet, even though he'll have that Manta Shell to dispel away that corrosive haze, what he truly needs is either a Lincoln Sphere to dodge out that Roar or block out that Roar, or he'll need a BKB. Lloyd almost has that Solar Crest. Meanwhile, Hard L does have that mechanism. Power spikes on the horizon, but I think the state in which the game exists currently, both sides do really need their items up. Saime with the BKB, even Dreamosel needs that BKB, Mamang Daya needs that BKB. Once you have these 3 BKBs on these 3 cores, you're going to be in a very good position to take a fight. At the same time, those BKBs are very far away on 2 of the 3 cores, so that will give this time to Butterfly Effect to farm up for his Sanj and Kaya, for the Mars to farm up for his Eels. He uses the Arena, but Tsukimoto was able to find the Zap out. Unfortunately, he's still going to fall. So yet another Arena being able to grab them a kill. But now that the Arena is down, the big question is, will the side of Carstensz look for a fight? Kismet once again going to get roared up. Poison Touch is also going to come in, hexing up the Razor, and Kismet will go down. There's nothing the Mantis style can do in that position, but I understand why Kismet went for it. This is the item to build on the Razor. Maelstrom BKB will just mean that you don't have damage and you survive, but there's no point of survival if you can't actually do anything with that added time. So I get why he went for the Manta, but they need to make some space for him in order to have a functioning carry in the game. Because as it stands right now, it does feel like much of the burden for these team fights falls on the shoulders of Butterfly Effect, falls on the shoulders of Double S. They have to do the heavy lifting, and you need your carry to do some heavy lifting of his own.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
A 4-man Smoke of Deceit comes out. And again, they make a play on towards Kismet. The Razor will simply melt. The rest of Roar did not even have the reaction or time for a reaction. Saime, he might just get jumped. Double S, he's probing, but no, it's actually an initiation on top of the Dazzle. However, Hardell was able to get his Grave off, and instantly Clove decides to disengage from that position. They did not have their Mars nearby, and they don't have their carry online, so it does seem like they have to disengage and try to play it safe. Sanjin Kaya is up for the Storm, as he is going to go for a Shiva's Guard next, as far as his intent goes, as far as the sticky buys go. Double S may have the Eels, but I think... Oh, Double S has also queued up the Shivas. So are they going to build 2 Shivas? I don't think this is the game to stack up on multiple Shivas. There are very few games in which you actually go for that. Butterfly effect. It's actually Saimei who's going to get initiated upon, but does receive the grave coming in from Hardell. This does mean that Hardell will potentially fall. Mamang Daya trying to create a bit of a gap, but should go down. This is a great fight to be had, but you do have Dreamcell making his entry. Butterfly effect will fall, but Kismet this time around will be able to hold on strong. However, the Raptor Dance comes in thanks to Saimei building up the space for that with that stun. It's going to be Clove who will go down next. Time lapse coming up by Tsukimoto as Dreamcell is back in. On top of Kismet, able to take him down. He is a difference maker here. Double S trying to escape will be able to at barely any HP remaining. They won't chase on top of that high ground, but in the end, this will be yet another win coming out for the side of Carstensz. Although in this particular team fight, Kismet did show some teeth. He was able to fight back. So it does seem like when Roar are able to start a fight and are able to give the Razor some space, Kismet can actually dish out the damage. So all they really need to get to is that BKB timing. But as I say that, the Razor isn't really going for a BKB. He's going for the Crimson Guard. And it's rough. It really is. Because while the Crimson Guard will absorb a fair bit of damage, Dreamcell will melt through the Crimson in just about 1 or 2 hits. So there's no real value coming in from the Crimson Guard in that sense. But I suppose going for a BKB is also puts you in an awkward spot because it's not as if the BKB will, you know, block the Roar. The only spell that can block the Roar is the Lincoln's. Clove gets sniped trying to stake out the Shrine of Wisdom, but it will be both Shrines of Wisdom going the way of Carstensz. 4,000 experience. He just got 4,000 experience. It's at level 20. It's a minute 28 Shrine. Now Dreamcell in possession of that full 9-second BKB. It's in his stash, or rather, it's in his backpack. But he does have that Aegis, so he'll probably shuffle it back into his inventory if he falls here. Banner has been placed down, so that means Carstensz are really not going to go anywhere. For Roar, they do want to go in, start off a fight instantly, but the grave comes out by Dreamcell, keeps him going. Double S is in trouble. Raptor Dance able to replenish Dreamcell's HP as it is Kismet in trouble. Dreamcell will, or rather should go down. The heals are not going to be enough. Aegis does drop on the deck, but Mamang Daya, he goes in towards Lloyd, who has gone down, and with 4 heroes not alive, it's actually just going to be a GG call. Lloyd simply calls it. Carstensz will take this series, rip apart Roar Gaming, who won yesterday in their own debut series. Carstensz certainly playing well, and this was something that I saw last series as well. Carstensz came out with, honestly, a very phenomenal group stage standing. They were at the very top of the group stage chart, and with the way that they just played right now, the way that they dominated Roar Gaming, despite of even being behind in that game number 1, does suggest to me that Carstensz, even with these roster shuffles, they're still a dominant force. But how well will they do against some of the better teams out there? I don't know if Roar Gaming is better or worse than teams like YG or Ivory, but I do know that YG or Ivory are probably going to give Carstensz a run for their money. But we'll have to wait for that to find out. For now, guys, this is going to be it for today over at Lunar Snake Trophy. We will resume with Lunar Snake Trophy tomorrow at around the same time. That is going to be 2 p.m. Singaporean time. In fact, it's going to be between Roar and Atlantis. Team Atlantis, who has lost one of their series against Komodo. That was actually the very first series of the tournament. They're going to be playing again against Roar, who are currently 1-1. Roar have a 2-0 series win against Komodo, and now they just lost 0-2 to Carstensz. But now they get to show us, or rather both teams get to show us, both Atlantis and Roar, what they're made of. Of course, Roar are probably going to be the favorites in that series by at least a small or to a medium margin. We will see what happens at the end of the day, guys. This is your host, Tultrus. I will be signing out for now, but I hope to see all of you tomorrow, so make sure to tune on in then.